All right, I'm going to call this meeting of public safety to order. Let the record reflect that Councilmember Penavanaglou is here and Councilmember Spatafor asked for an excused absence. Let's move on to the minutes from February 13th of 2024. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
We have a proper motion. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right, next we are up to public comment. You have up to 3 minutes to speak on an agenda item. If someone has something that's down in 5 in the discussion action, we can do your public comment then, if you want to wait for that matter. So I will open it up to public comment. Public comment. Is there anyone online?
No.
Okay.
Oh, wait, Norma's
Oh,
standing up.
Norma, I'm sorry.
That's okay, if I can just stand here. I want to comment on, item 5E, emergency sirens, because I live on Jolly Road right down from the senior center, senior dwelling place. And, I wonder if it's still a policy where the police have to go to an emergency call before the fire department. That used to be a policy, but I see what it still is. And some people are traumatized when they see a police officer in an emergency.
Gotcha.
That's really all.
Okay, thank you, Norma. We certainly can ask that. Is there anyone else that wanted to speak? All right, seeing no one, we're going to move on to 5, resolution, orders to make, safe, or demolish of 3301 Turner Street. We have Mr. Walter Allen here. If he could give us an update on this property. This has been a property that we have been bringing back every 2 weeks for status updates.
Okay, so the owners are getting the permits and the work is being done. It's moving slowly, but he is moving forward on the items that were violations.
Okay, I looked on BSA, I saw that they had a mechanical license that was suspended back in February for non-payment, and he owes about $1,200 in fees right now.
Yeah.
Can you speak on that at all?
I cannot speak on that one, but I know one of his fees he paid today.
Okay.
He just paid today. On the mechanical permits suspended, looked like he just owed $130.
Yep. Was that what he paid today, or?
No. The last payment he had on that was in February.
Councilmember Penavanaglou, do you have any questions on this property?
So this has been with us since 2017, is that right? Am I reading this correctly?
Yeah, the original.
Well, I think it's been in the process, and maybe not to council, but yes, the process started in 17.
Okay.
We carried a show cause hearing 10/4/23.
Has the property owner attended the hearings previously, or?
I believe that he has come to this committee twice, and he was at one council meeting for this issue, and I believe the meeting he came to is the reason we pulled it back.
Because he was making some type of
Correct.
What is left outstanding? I mean, is there a way to understand, aside from these photos that we have here in our packet, of what the outstanding issues are with the home at this address?
Walter, do you know that? What remains to be done in that property?
It looks like, so he paid for the plumbing permit today.
Okay,
So he has, the building is issued for remodel and siding. There's the sequence he has to do first.
Yeah.
So once he gets the plumbing done, and then I think he'll move forward on the plumbing and electrical, some of the building issues. So he was waiting on the plumbing permit, I believe. So now I can move a little faster.
okay. Did you have any other questions on this?
I don't have any other questions. I mean, it seems like although it's slow, there is movement. Fees are being paid, permits are being pulled. So I don't have any questions on this.
Did you want to make a motion to table this again then?
Yes, I'd like to move to table this.
Okay. So then we will move on to item C, 1326 North Jennison Avenue. This was a make safe or demolish. It looks like this was red tag 725 of 22. Estimated cost of repairs is $34,000. And this is a 60-day make safe or demolish, so it is not fire damage. Walter, could you speak on this property?
So this property has been through the big safe for demolish process. It looks like we still don't have any permits for demolition, so and we don't have any other open permits for any other work. So the demo board held on to it for a while, no movement. So we're referring it to council.
Gotcha. Appreciate it. Sir, are you here for the property?
Yep.
Can we get your name for the record?
James Acker, ACKER.
Okay.
It surprised me last night at the meeting to find out there wasn't any permits because this guy is who I got the second one that I talked to. And I thought when I first thought, okay, last October for him to do it, that he said, well, okay, he'll go down and get the permits. So I'm surprised last night that you were saying that there wasn't any. Because I haven't heard from him since October. I told him when I talked to him that one time on the phone, I said, well, I still got stuff up in the attic to get out of there yet. I can't find one person to help me, which is nice to know who your friends are. I have none. So it's up to me to get the stuff out. And this crook that I got a hold of, the religious man that tipped me out of $7,700. I need some advice from anybody how to get my money back out of him. He refused that day. I don't know, senior legal aid, something, take him to court or what?
Sir, I suggest an attorney. I don't know what the law is. I can't advise you legally. The only thing that we're dealing with today is the demolition of this make safe or demolish on this property. What I would tell you though is to talk to an attorney about the issue with these folks.
Yeah, it's just something when I told him, then I think it was November when I last talked to him, because, you know, weeks with a contract, weeks go by before anything happens. So when he finally came around, I told him I'd hired somebody else. Boy, you get all mad, I was yelling at him, and usually I don't yell at people. But I thought neighbors are gonna start coming out here pretty soon because there's enough noise going on. But when I said, well, I gotta get my money back from you, and he just looks at me, huh? Like, what money? $7,700 worth of money. With no money coming in, I can't lose that much money for the next contractor, because I had to take care of my grandparents from 91 up until 98, twice a day with them. and my dad and my mom up until February 15, so no money to be made for those years. So that's why I'm not the richest guy in the world.
I understand that, James. I understand what you're going through. Like I said, I would talk to an attorney or Michigan Legal Aid. They offer assistance to people that can't afford it.
Yeah, just wondered through Tri-County if they had the senior.
Tri-County perhaps could have something if you reached out to them.
I'm gonna have some people that deliver the Meals on Wheels tomorrow. I'm gonna ask Sally.
I appreciate it.
But otherwise, I called Board of Water and Light a few weeks ago, and I finally got paperwork to take the service line down. Finally got that a couple days ago. I gotta fill out this form. I thought all you had to do was just call them up and say, hey, can you take the service line down? But now you gotta fill out this form. So that's gonna take me a few days yet to get that down.
We can still move forward with this, and you can still move forward with your process. And if you do get it taken care of, you have the 60 days for the Make Safe or Demolish, plus there's gonna be another city council hearing before this is, not hearing, this will be on the city council agenda for Monday. So next Monday, we'll start the clock if we do take it up, it'll be 60 days.
Yeah.
So you'll have 2 months before the city will act. But this, unfortunately, this is our internal process, and it's simply, we don't have any control over, going a different direction than what the process is. Councilman Pinabon, do you have any questions?
No, I don't have any questions. And although we are not able to give legal advice, I just wonder if maybe you filed a report for theft or done anything in addition.
When he was yelling at me, he said, you signed a contract. I signed some stuff. This is his card. You guys want to know his name? I didn't want to say it publicly last night. I thought he'd probably sue me for libel or slander or something. They ain't getting out in public. I wish he would get red tape with everybody in this town. Because I thought maybe that's what he does to everybody, refuses to get a permit. And then he just disappears. He wanted to be paid up front, and I thought I could trust him. Being so religious like he was doing, it turns out to just be a big phony.
I would suggest what Councilman Cost did. There are resources and attorneys that can be called to help you go through that process.
Yeah, the time before I'd argued with him to get the permit, he wanted me to go get it. And I heard you have to be a licensed contractor to do it. So then the last time I was arguing with him, he said, I know you want a permit. Well, that's what the fight was about the time before. Well, I could have my daughter go down and get it. She's certified. Like, what does that mean?
And I understand your frustration, so I appreciate you coming and giving us the information today. Do you have any more questions?
I don't have any.
His name is Rodney Armstrong. I figure I can say it in here.
Thank you, sir. What would you like to do here?
Yeah, I mean, I believe we need to work with this.
Make a motion.
Yes, I move to this forward.
Okay, we have a proper motion in place. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All right, that takes us to our next item. It's going to be the orders to make safe or demolish of 1519 Linval Street. Mr. Allen, could you speak on that for us?
Yes, this property has been tagged for a while. Had a new owner since it was tagged. It wasn't tagged by the current owner. I see they do have, it looked like it was a building permit that was pulled today. And they already had an electrical and plumbing permit that are open. So we have been working with Mr. McKissick, and we went through the demo board and they decided to pass it forward. Have it doing work. It's moving kind of slow, but so they decided to move it forward.
Okay. And do we have anybody, I believe you're here to speak on this?
I'm Michael McKissick. So I was speaking to the city council. I was speaking to the city council. When we teaching our kids, it's not a fast process. You know, it's not like a contractor not coming here and knocking out And I know, Ward, Land, and they, they're, like I said last night, they're doing their job. That's what they're supposed to do. And I explained to them, like I explained last night, when I'm teaching my kids, and I have subcontractors that come in and teach their trades as well, and they volunteer their time as well. And so when we're teaching them, it's not a fast process. And I just want to show them. So that was Mikey 23 first house, and that was a fire damage house as well. And it sold, as I was speaking about city council yesterday, and it sold as well. And that was when we started. That was the same year my son was murdered, August 15th in that year. This one, I know you two couldn't see this one last night. This is built now.
Okay.
This is what it used to look like. This is the process, is where it's at now. You can see the car damage was in the back, and that's what it looks like now. And so the process is going on, and I know that Ward is doing his job, and I can plan I know you're doing his job. But what I do is for the love of the kids, for the community. There's nothing more than that. There's no money that I gain from this whatsoever. And this house is in the Denora area, which is the worst area in our community right now, as everybody talks about. And right now, that is the best house on the block right now. The best looking house on the block. And we have a good support of our neighbors. They come out and get the kids drinks and snacks and things of that nature. And so, again, for us, when we take houses, and this is our third house that we have, and all of them are fire damage houses. The first two, there was fire damage, and we completed, and they sold as well. And so, we give them the fire department a good name. So you guys come in, put the fire up, we come in, put the house away. And we love what we do. We love what we do, Chief. And you know about the Mikey 23 Foundation, what we do in the community. And for us, that's what we do. It's a win, like I said last night, it's a win-win for the community. So if you tear down the house, right? If you tear down the house, the property taxes that you get is roughly $30-40 a year versus totally rehabbing a house. And that's what we do. We totally rehab a house. Totally rehab a house, put it back on the market, it goes back into property tax. And then therefore it's a win-win for the community. It's a win-win for the Denora area as well, because that needs a little love as well. And so again, I'm actually the city councilor, and I was actually last night, it's not a fast process, at all. Like we starting back, we got final exams for our kids coming up this Saturday. We got orientation at the city. So again, it's coming along. It's coming along. We had, I forgot what the gentleman that's in the code compliance in that area, Ward, but he had came and he's seen a bunch of kids, working with us and things, and he's seen the work that we do as far as code compliance is concerned. Again, it's not like it's a contract. You come through there and knock it out in 60 days, 45 days. That's just not the process of what we do. But when we do the work, it's done correctly. It's done after, all the permits are pulled, and it's done right. And the people that we sold the houses, the prior houses, they love the house.
I appreciate you coming. Walter, I see on here the last time code compliance did an inspection was 2015 on this house. It sounds like he's making progress. Code compliance, what would be the recommendation from code compliance on this property?
Our recommendation would be to table it.
I agree with that. I move to table. Looks like there has been progress made and permits are being pulled.
Okay. We have a proper motion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right.
Until the next meeting or what?
Yeah, we're gonna work the same way that we've been working with 3301. I'm gonna add this onto our other, and we're gonna keep this conversation going. I wanna make sure that, we're doing our due diligence here in public safety and that the project is moving forward. But I have no doubt that you're gonna continue to step forward. Sounds like you just pulled a permit. And the evidence is
expired.
Yeah. And the evidence is very clear that you've put time into this home to rehab it. So we want to try to work with you a little bit on this. There's definitely an effort being shown. All right, so we are gonna move on to item E.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, okay, sorry. The emergency sirens, LFD. I believe the fire chief graciously has come to this meeting. This item actually came up last year in public safety. They were doing upgrades, and the chief can speak to that. And this last 2 weekends ago, we had test sirens go off, and we had several community members call me and other council members saying that they didn't hear anything. So, Chief Sturdivant, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Good afternoon, committee. And this is a follow-up conversation based on the last wave of pretty significant storms that came through our community about 6 months or so ago. There was some confusion. There was a bit of lack of education on the county emergency siren process. So we conducted a deep dive, worked with the public safety committee at that time. They were interested in a survey that I have the results that went out to the community just to see from an educational standpoint where we are with the sirens. Now, it's important to understand that the emergency sirens are just one layer of resiliency that is in place as it relates to the emergency notification. These are survey results.
Yep, perfect.
Okay,
Yep, I
okay.
just want to make sure that you had enough copies.
Yeah, I do.
For the record.
Okay,
Thank you.
yeah. And the sirens in and of themselves are built and designed to be heard outdoors. And a lot of the confusion came from the standpoint of our community members being inside, not being able to hear the sirens. That is not how they were intended. They were intended, if you're outdoors, they go off, they give you ample time to seek shelter or do whatever you need to do, gather the pets, and get indoors so that you can protect yourself. Again, just one layer, along with the public safety announcements, along with the weather radios, along with TV, radio reports. We have multiple layers that we hope will provide an increased level of coverage throughout the community. No one component in and of itself is going to do that 100% of the time. And of course, we found that out. This map here reflects the siren location and the siren coverage. And as you can see, about 5 years ago, the city of Lansing reduced the number of sirens from 22 to 12. But we increased the technology with those 12 so that we were actually able to increase the level of coverage in the community. That was another bit of information that we most definitely could have done a better job with the education on the front end. And so what myself and our emergency management division is focused on right now is the continued education and communication to the community so that they are fully aware of the one component of a siren, how it fits into the big picture and what we've been able to do. Now, the sirens are driven and provided with the oversight from Ingham County Emergency Management. They are not City of Lansing resources. They are part of the county-wide, tri-county, Ingham, Eaton, and Clinton. They're part of that coverage from an emergency management standpoint. Ingham County actually provides the test on a monthly basis. Actually, it's a weekly test. The first Saturday of every month is considered a loud test, where the sirens actually are blown and they go off. The other 3 corresponding Saturdays within the month are considered a quiet test, where they go in and make sure that the connectivity, make sure the technology is still in place, hadn't been damaged by anything. So they are tested on a weekly basis. Now, what we're proposing from my office and our emergency management division is that we conduct a huge community blitz on the education piece. And I know, Councilman Cost, you were part of the Public Safety Committee prior to the most recent election for new members. And we discussed this with you at that time, and we are still working with the city's communication division on the best method to get the information out to the community as it relates to efficiency of the sirens, how that plays a role in conjunction with other layers of resiliency so that the community is as protected as we need it to be. There is, again, some misconceptions, some misunderstandings, some miseducation. Shame on us for not being a bit more proactive with the education piece. We realize that now. We're looking to get in front of those efforts and to really make sure that this community is protected. We do take a lot of pride with our efforts. It was a work in progress when we downgraded the sirens from 22 to the new technology to 12 because we had to wait on vendors to come in and remove. We had to wait on parts to be delivered. So it was an ongoing process over the course of 3 to 4 years prior to my arrival. But now that this is on our radar, we are all in with ensuring that we do whatever we need to do, media, whatever that may look like, to make sure the community is aware. You may not hear the siren when you're watching the ball game in your basement, but if you're on your back deck or on your backyard, you should be able to hear the siren any corner of the city. That's what we want to ensure. That's what we want to test. That's where our resources are going into to ensure that we are compliant. So I'm hoping that this effort is going to continue to generate some interest because it is something as we identify gaps in our coverage, regardless of where those gaps are, we're always looking for a way to bridge or a way to enhance. And this is one example of what that is going to look like as we move. The survey results, if you look at them, there were 6 questions. We received less than 40 respondents from the survey. And the survey was out there for almost 2 weeks. It was on the city's webpage. We flooded it with social media impact, but we only received about 38 or 39 respondents to the survey. And if you look at the results, they seem to be a little bit all over the map, if you will. But the one question that speaks to, have you ever received emergency information or alerts through other means, smartphone, apps, TV, radio, during a storm or emergency events? And just about to the letter, each of the respondents replied yes. So there is a basic understanding that the sirens are just one component of the emergency alerting process. And if it is not coupled completely and integrated completely with the other layers, that one weak link in the chain can cause some failure. So we want to communicate, educate the community, make sure that they are aware of what this looks like. So we propose some things such as announcing when the loud tests are going to be so that we can get that out to the community so that they can stand by with a platform to respond and let us know, did they hear, what did they hear? We are also looking at working with the county to elongate the siren blast. Instead of a 90-second blast, we may need to double that just to make sure that we are going above and beyond what we need to do to make sure that the community is in the loop. And then we want an open forum for any feedback, any ideas, any thoughts, because one of my concerns is for our community of hearing impaired. What can we do? There is some technology out there. We are researching that. It does come with a cost, but we are researching and we'll be looking to work in conjunction with the county on what we can do to enhance that component of the siren process for those that are hearing impaired. So we do have a few different irons in the fire. We're excited about it, and we are all open for any ideas, any thoughts, any recommendations from this committee, from the community at large, so that we can be a little better tomorrow than we may have been yesterday.
I'm really happy to hear about the educational pieces that you plan to put out because I think I, like so many others last August when the storm came through, we didn't hear anything from inside and it was evening, so we weren't necessarily outdoors. And we just weren't sure what to expect. And so I think those educational pieces would be great. And I remember seeing some follow-up a few days after that storm. Folks were saying they couldn't hear it. They weren't sure if they should take shelter or not take shelter. Come to find out, that's when the information that I knew of started rolling out on the news system. So I'm really glad to hear that, we can inform residents of how these sirens are working, why they're working the way they are. And then, of course, there are other means to check and see if you know there's, the inclement weather coming in. And where you can
Exactly.
get your
That
information.
level of uncertainty is perception.
Right.
Perception is reality. So we have to address that. And by all means, we can definitely get a lot more proactive on the front end with the education piece. And I think that will lead us down a more productive path on what our siren process looks like. Because then we will be able to take that information back to the county and say, hey, for our community, we found some issues here. What can we do to bridge the gap? Are there any other communities around the Tri-County area that are experiencing some of this? If there are, let's put our heads together and come up with a solid plan. So we're looking to not only gather the data, but then transition the data into information so that when we do meet with Tri-County, with Ingham County 911 Dispatch Center, they are the overseer of the process, if you will. They conduct tests on a weekly basis. They activate based on weather alerts when needed. So we definitely want to keep them in the loop with whatever we do as we move forward.
Judy, did you have anything else?
No, I don't have anything else. Thank you so much for letting us know this update and how you plan to move forward.
Absolutely.
Chief, I appreciate you being here. I just have two quick things. One, if someone happens to be outside and they didn't hear anything on those loud tests, is there a number that someone could call to say, hey, I didn't hear anything and I was outside?
Absolutely. Dial 311. 311 is the general information number for all things City of Lansing. 311 will then route those calls to the specific department, director, whomever it may be for the follow-up. And what we're working through with our 311 system is a return level of follow-up so that our community knows that not only did we listen, but we heard you. And this is what we've done about it. We don't want those requests to just end up in a black hole somewhere. So we are looking to follow up with those requests.
All right, perfect. Well, I don't have anything else, Chief, so I appreciate everything, and any way we can help, we're willing to help to get this information out, because, it is vital. And I think a lot of people do mistake being able to hear the siren inside. When the loud test went off, I was in my basement, and it sounded like a hum,
Okay.
but I was in my basement.
Okay. Yeah.
So,
Well, we're going to look to lean into this committee.
Yeah.
And utilize your brain as a resource, if you will. And so I'm going to just ask you to continue to challenge yourself for any thoughts, ideas, recommendations, and to bring them to us. And we will look for a creative way to implement. And again, I'm just looking to be better tomorrow than we may have been. And we can all do a little work with that.
our committee looks forward to working with you.
Okay, absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for being here, Chief.
Jason,
Oh, I'm sorry,
Chair,
Jason.
When is the appropriate time? If we're going through these to ask questions, during or at the end, or?
You can ask questions right now.
Okay, I just want to make sure it wasn't out of order. Question I have is, are we looking at, is the fire department looking at a different way of gathering data? I think to use 40 people in a city of how many is not an accurate reflection of whether we're doing a good job or not. Getting on the city's website, please don't do that, because it's horrible. If it's reaching out to neighborhood groups or something like that, we'd be happy to do our part. But I do not believe that 40 people is representative on how the city should move forward, and something that could cost a lot of money. And we're talking about people's lives, that there were people who did not hear it outside. What about the people that don't have technology? We have a lot of those. Many of them are seniors who we represent. So I just would like to know if we're doing a little more comprehensive to get the data to whatever decisions made, that we can back that up.
By all means, we understand that sample size of 40 in a community of 115,000 doesn't really represent. We get it. But again, this was the first attempt. It went out to social media. It went out to the city's webpage, went out to the fire department webpage. We can engage print media. We can engage a lot of other platforms, if you will, to ensure that that message gets out. One thing I'm a little concerned about, though, here in the city of Lansing, I'll reserve judgment until we get a little further downstream. But again, you're absolutely right. We want to increase the ability for there's an opportunity, we need you to seize that opportunity. Give us some thoughts, give us some feedback, and we're going to continue to keep the door open for that to happen.
Norma?
The state of Michigan has a division on deaf, blind, and hard of hearing. So they have the whole playbook on assistive technology for people who are deaf, blind, or hard of hearing. So I encourage you to ask them what their advice is.
Yeah, we've researched them. We've actually reached out to them. Somewhat cost prohibitive, but there are workarounds. That technology it comes with the price tag. And again, as restrictive as that can be, I think there are some creative methods that we can employ to help us bridge those gaps. We don't want that to be the choke point, but we do have to take into consideration price points. We do have to take into consideration what this particular issue with the hearing impaired may look like for the entire system, so that we may all be able to chime in and share the burden of what that price point may look like to leverage that technology within our system. But we did reach out to those folks because we've done the same things with our smoke detector program, because we have smoke detectors now that light up and they vibrate because of that special need. And so the technology is there. We just have to continue some research. Absolutely.
I wonder if our own Board of Water and Light could send a message to everyone who's indoors to just cause the lights to flash.
That's an idea. Yeah. That's an idea. Yeah.
That should be cool.
Big consumers for electrical, that would be
Yeah.
normal.
Yeah, it would be.
Oh, was that a cheap?
But yeah, we appreciate all the feedback. Thank you so much for the thoughts. They will be considered, and yeah, we'll see what we can work into the process. By all means.
Chief, I just had one comment, and it reminded me that, my son brought home a smoke detector fire alarm from his school. So, one portion of getting the word out and really engaging communities, especially those families, might be to partner with the Langston School District, maybe drop a stack of cards at elementary schools, middle schools, and send those home with the kids. I mean,
Excellent
thank
idea.
you for our fire alarm that we
Excellent idea.
installed last
And you
year. But
are,
I know that's an effective way to get the message home.
it's
So,
interesting. We had a meeting last week with the superintendent to talk about our risk reduction in the
Oh,
school
wonderful.
system. So yes, those discussions are taking place as we
Perfect.
speak.
That's great.
QR code. Get a QR code on that. Have the parents scan it. That would be good.
Yeah, good way to communicate absolutely with some data.
Well, anyway, and you know, the other way, because Jason mentioned it, is you know, several of us on councils are in many of the neighborhood groups on Facebook as well. So you know, if we get a heads up that you're going to push something out on social media, we can actually amplify that and push it further.
Okay. Okay.
You know, there's 3,000 people in ENO. There's, you know, these neighborhood groups are pretty big on Facebook, and I realize social media is not 100% the answer,
Right,
but
right,
we
right.
certainly can push it to a lot of people.
Well, that's actually a good point because, as you know, we do meet with our fire board of commissioners on a monthly basis, and they are representing the wards that you represent. So each of your wards and at large, there is a fire board of commissioner that we meet with on a monthly basis. So we could leverage that group also to partner with what we're looking to do to get the word out. But yeah, we just have to be creative. Just because we have not done it before does not mean it should not be considered. So that's what we're looking to do.
Excellent. Are there any other questions? Okay, then we are, thank you, sir. We're going to move on to item F, which is the ordinance amendment to the parking ordinance from OCA. YouTube is struggling.
YouTube continues to buffer, so.
All right, so we're having some technical difficulties, but we were going to march on. Lisa, has there been any updates, or are we still just kind of?
We're continuing to work on it.
Okay.
I have met with Andy Kilpatrick on it. We've had some discussions. I think you and I had a meeting about this as well. I think the primary hurdle that Mr. Kilpatrick and I are trying to work through is for the areas that have a traffic control order that only allows parking on one because of issues with the street width. Any way that we're sort of trying to draft this ordinance amendment is difficult because it would require a period of time that you would be allowed to park on both sides of the street so that, you know, you can go to bed at 11 and have your car on the right side of the street when it goes into effect. So those are some of the things that we're trying to work through and kind of workshopping. I thought Mr. Patrick was maybe going to be here, but I guess.
Left you hanging.
So, no, it's fine, but,
Yep.
so operationally, we're trying to address some of those issues as we're into drafting, and, it's been a challenge, but we can continue to kind of workshop and see if we can find something that works, and I don't know if that's kind of a wider scale pilot program to see, you know, I know that Mr. Patrick mentioned that there was a pilot maybe of 1 or 2 streets for a period of time. And he suggested that perhaps that's not the best kind of test for whether something like that works in Lansing and maybe a bigger scale. Obviously, those are administrative policy, not law, so I can't speak in detail, but those are some of the things that we've done.
Okay, perfect. Do you have any questions?
I guess my question would be, taking it back to a discussion that we had in February. This amendment, is this related to the idea or concept of having cars park on one side of the street versus other, or, you know, several nights on one side and several nights on the other side?
So that's the framework. that we're
Okay,
kind of
I just
working
wanted to
with
make sure
right now.
that I was on the same page with
Yeah,
that.
I'm sorry for not being more clear. What we've been asked, I believe by Council Member Costa as chair of this committee, is to draft something in kind of an odd even
Yes,
format.
uneven,
And
thank you.
so that's what
Thank
we're
you.
working towards.
Okay.
And like I said, we are having an operational difficulty just because so many streets in the city are narrow that to have a period of time where both sides would be allowed to be parked, even if it's during the day, could lead to some real safety concerns. So we're, like I said, we're really trying to work through that.
Well, and I'll say this too, and Lisa knows this too. You know, this is the opening shots of, you know, trying to address some of the issues we have with parking. So this may, you know, it may not be that. It can be something else. That was, you know, LPD had suggested that, but I think there's a lot of options too. If, you know, structurally we can't figure it out. And this isn't a foot race, slow and steady to make sure we do it right. So I appreciate the update. And I think that there's going to be a lot of things, and this is going to take some time. It's a pretty big thing. So we'll continue to chip away and you know, keep our ears to the ground. So did you have anything else? Yes, we're gonna go ahead and shift it down just to pending. So, you know, if you don't have anything, because it is a process, that's fine. I don't think we need to bring it up every time in depth. If you're okay with that.
That's fine, and I do appreciate the update today. And I'm glad to hear that, you know, you are working on these things. I know every item can't be tackled very quickly, but the idea was brought up last month, and here we are this month, really kind of getting into it, understanding how this could work, or if it doesn't work at all. I think those steps are important to take, so thank you.
So on that, sorry, just really quick, I had a meeting with Grand Rapids parking team to kind of talk through some of the financial logistics on their side, and I'm writing up some information for you. So,
Okay.
yeah, just wanted to try to question that.
Emily, I don't know where you get the time in the day to do all the things you do. I'd say the same about Sherry too. Jason, did you have a question? I saw your hand.
Question, comment. Emily, thank you for looking at some other options. I would suggest for council or the committee to look at what has been done in the past, the information, the data that's already there. When council had this before them before, with the data and proposals that would not work and why they wouldn't work, there's no reason to recreate or do something that is already there, sitting back, when this was before council before. You know, couldn't speak for both of you who were on council, but there's some good information that's there. That odd even creates a massive confusion for folks that already can't bring in recycling containers after they've been emptied. And so I fear that looking at all the options is great. So I appreciate that. I definitely would try to weigh them all. But one thing that's occurred for one reason here to speak as a public service board member, that we had public come to us and say that they wanted parking enforcement, they wanted the 2 to 5 in their neighborhood, which by ordinance could be allowed in a specific area, but then is that easily enforced? Because unless that information gets to every party involved, LPD, do they know that this is the only spot or one of the few spots, and it's only 2 blocks or 3 blocks that is enforced? Making sure that all 100 plus officers know what that is and where that is. And when you get to the courts, do they understand that there is a specific area when somebody goes to fight a stick and they're like, well, that's not even an ordinance because they got rid of that. Well, small areas can be, but it makes it, from an enforceable standpoint, it just becomes a logistical nightmare. It may give a neighbor or community, a group of neighbors, a false sense that the city truly cares about their concern, but it doesn't make sense to pass an ordinance or something and build something that will not be enforced. We shouldn't be in the business of just making people happy by telling them something that is not going to give them a desired result. So I believe it's an issue for the majority of folks throughout the city that have now experienced, once the 2 to 5 has been gone, that anyone and everyone can just dump their junk cars that are leaking oil, that have flat tires for blocks in the city. And there's no enforcement, but as well as RVs, and as well as, it's just become a commercial. People that have businesses that can just park all of their stuff there. 2 to 5 was very effective at what it was when it was enforced properly. That was a decision to not enforce it, and that's why we ended up where we did.
Thank you, Jason. Lisa, and I don't know the answer to this. When he talks about RVs and trailers and all of those things that are parked in the road, is that by state law that we enforce that, or is that by?
I believe that that's under our zone.
So if that's under our zoning, are we able to add, does the state law circumvent us from not adding things like the flat tire car, or the car without the registration?
So that speaks more towards abandoned disabled vehicle, which is covered under state law.
Okay. And I assume that the state law circumvents us from making anything tougher.
Yeah, we are preempted in some sense.
Preempted, sorry.
No, you're okay.
Okay.
And so that we encourage and we, counsel our police department on that process for, tagging and telling it's appropriate under that authority of the state.
Okay. Okay. Well, I appreciate it. This is certainly something that I think we'll continue to look at and try to figure out. It's not a one size fits all for sure. We're going to move on to other. That's 6. And then item G, which is the city attorney update on the commercial sign ordinance, which I believe is close.
Well, so it's no longer with the city attorney.
Okay.
It was heard at the planning commission in March, so it's going through the planning commission process. There's a series of things that needs to happen at the planning commission, and then it comes to you. So this is no longer considered something that is with OC.
Okay. And we're going to go ahead. If you feel comfortable, and take that off our list, because it sounds like it's moving into the final stages.
Yes, I'm comfortable with
Okay,
I will say there's always a chance, and we will notify you if for some reason the planning commission has changes for something that we'll see needs to look at again. And then it comes back for a new draft. I don't expect that to happen, but it's always a possibility.
You never know.
you see what she did? I used pen to mark that off, and then she's, well, wait a second.
No, I do, I think it could be marked off. I will update if there's a.
Lisa, thank you so much. And then economic development and planning, everybody has left from there. I had hoped Walter would stick around. I wanted to have a conversation about Autumn Ridge. Lisa, is there anything that you can update us on?
I would really encourage not having conversations about Autumn Ridge in an open session.
Okay.
That is a matter for active litigation. So I would, at this time, suggest that we take it off the list. You will obviously, as it pertains to the litigation, receive a quarterly update, I believe, scheduled for Monday during
Okay.
committee of the whole. And so you will have an opportunity to ask questions at that time, but really, pending litigation, cannot talk about it in open session.
Okay. All right, then we're gonna take that off of there. Cintab, I believe, Joe, you're here?
Yes.
Did you want to speak on any updates?
Just one quick update. We continue to make progress in rental certifications and renewals. There was a bit of a change in the timeline on the West Holmes property. So I remember if you, for my presentation, the picture, it's not a common area walkway. It's a terrace, like balcony motel type setup. On the reinspection, there was a new item around the decking. And there's been some back and forth with architects and contractors about how to repair the decking. And after some back and forth, it was determined that it would be best to just pull all of it down and rebuild it. So that will take a little bit more time and cost, but long-term, it would be a much better fix. So that pushed the timeline about a month or so on that property specifically, but the rest of the properties continue to move forward, and happy to answer any questions if you guys have any specifics.
Okay.
I do. So when you say it moved the timeline forward or down about a month or so, are you talking about the April 1 day that we discussed a few weeks ago? Or do you mean further like into May 1st?
Yeah,
What
so-
is your goal?
So, I mean, obviously, everyone's trying to move as fast as possible, and they were hoping to identify a quick fix for this problem, but that, again, like I said, it's just a better long-term solution. I don't know specifically on the date, but I imagine, moving people in April 1 is probably unlikely at this point, as we sit here mid-March. And then it's all going to be dependent on, of course, the city code enforcement, building safety coming back out and inspecting that final work when it's complete. So that typically that can be a significant, just getting into their inspection schedule. So I will try to be prepared with more specific updates on the next meeting, but the April 1 date did push most likely to probably May 1.
Sure. And I will just add that I took the opportunity to go and visit the West Holmes property. It's somewhat in my neighborhood, and I pass it almost every day. And it was explained some of the updates that had been made over the last several weeks, and what they were working on, amending, and they had just had some sort of inspection where we received instruction to remove some, I don't know if we would call it awning, but an overhang between the second level and the first level. And so, I've driven past the property, I have seen that that's been removed. So I have personally seen some improvement that he's reporting out on.
Absolutely. Joe, just some minor things I've noticed. Over in Kalamazoo, as I pass it at night, it is very dark. The stairwells that are outside are very dark. I think some of your outside lights are not working, and it does not feel very welcoming when you pass there. The parking lots are dark, the entryways are dark. I would encourage Cintab to maybe look at getting some light in there for those residents, because I think you do have people in those buildings.
Yes, those buildings are all mostly occupied, and I will take that note back. I haven't been over that property at night. I do know that there are significant security and safety upgrades going on over there, including using one of the units for Lansing Police they're actually putting an office on site on that property as well. So I will take the note back, and I'm sure that they will follow up.
Perfect. And then I had asked you about the door getting painted over at the headquarters. Do you know if that's happened?
So they're gonna get some quotes on that. You're talking about the like brown door.
Yeah, they had the gang symbol on
Yeah,
it.
and they had scraped it off, but I went over that the other day and I saw
You
the.
can see it, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know, are you aware with the facade improvement grants? I mean, it's not gonna be a significant cost to paint that door, but would that be something that would qualify for those grants that are due at the end of the week?
So I'm not sure if there's a minimum on that. Do you know offhand, Emily?
I can check. I don't think there's a minimum.
Okay,
Because
But I
it,
would have to-
yeah, I haven't seen a
They're pretty
minimum, but
small dollar
okay.
yeah.
grants.
But they
Yeah,
are looking into that. I took that note back to
Okay.
them, and they're gonna on that as well.
I appreciate it. Just, again, we have visitors from the zoo leaving and their car is facing this thing and they're looking at it like, I don't know. So I appreciate it. And much like Councilmember Penny Bonaglu, I have seen some progress. Obviously, in my head, I think that things should always go faster, but that's, my thought process.
Sure.
So I appreciate that you guys, you're coming to every one of these public service meeting, public safety. It's been a long day, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no,
Public safety meetings, and you're keeping us updated at each step, so we know where we're at. So I appreciate you coming and giving us the update.
Yeah, no, and I appreciate the comments and appreciate the invitation to come to the first meeting and happy to be here to continue to provide updates, so.
Great, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so the next item is the list of open action letters. We don't have anyone here to speak on this.
Is that this one?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
from code. We don't have anyone to speak on the fee study. And we don't have anyone to speak on the progress of the dormant properties. I'm looking right now.
Chance to read email. Well, we did say something about dormant properties is the list.
Yep, right here.
Looks like the dormant property list has slightly moved from 31 to 30, I believe.
Yeah.
I do recall there were 31, so it's like one has dropped off.
I think without anybody here from, and there's some extra pictures of the 3301 as well. I think without anyone here left from EDP, it would be best to maybe look over the information and then we can try to get them here next time for an in-person update
Sure.
on the data.
Yeah, I would just table this to the next meeting, or is this just
Um,
on
this
our
is an-
update
This is
list?
just on the pending.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Okay,
not an
perfect.
action item
So-
of any kind, so. We'll just keep it pending as long as the committee wants to keep doing that.
And if there is nothing else before this body, we are going to be adjourned at 4:57.
59.
59.
That's a